Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to this Ace Talks. This is episode 4. The last Ace Talks was with Bilal Khan, and he was talking about visualizing architecture. So that was our last Ace Talks. We got interrupted because we reached a 1 hour mark, but I think I did, honestly speaking, while doing the Ace Talks, we realized that we have a 1 hour mark. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to keep it 45 minutes this time, but we will try to answer all of your questions as well, guys. This is going to be really amazing. So basically today we have architect Orko Jyoti Saha. So he was a senior to me in college, and I know him since a long time, 5-6 years now. And it's been really amazing to see the kind of work that he has done. I mean, I've always been inspired by him. A lot of my batchmates, a lot of my friends, a lot of my students also are inspired by him. I think one of the best illustration artists out there, digital art. He's completely into amazing presentations, crazy designs. The actual designers of our college, I think one of them, one of the topmost designers of our college was Orko Jyoti Saha, and I think everyone would accept that. So let's welcome him. It's 7 p.m. I'll bring him on board, and then let's see how today's session goes. We'll be answering a lot of different questions, guys. Hi, how are you?
No, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. So, what's up? It's been so long, and I think this topic which we have today is going to really benefit a lot of the viewers today who want to understand the allied fields of architecture, also want to understand art in various different ways. So, can you start by briefing us about what you have been doing in so long? What do you do? A little brief about yourself so our viewers know exactly what you do.
Yeah. So, you know, we have been studied as an architect, and right now I'm right now working with Bus Lab in Goa. I've been working with 3-4 years, I guess, and it's mostly but now, I'm doing designer work and illustrating, and sometimes I'm sketching. So yeah, it's becoming like a transitory space where like traveling from one space to another. So yeah, like I don't know what I'll call myself, an artist or something, but yeah, I don't call myself an architect now. So I just, when people say, yeah, I'm an artist, it's safer to say.
Okay, so can you tell us what was that? Why aren't you in mainstream architecture? A lot of people feel scared to taking up anything apart from mainstream architecture. So can you tell them how did you break that barrier?
Uh, it just happened. Like I mean, so with time, so the kind of projects that I've been working on, it's always been like sort of in between architecture and interior design and a lot of other things as well. So it sort of
Correct.
forced me to work on the fields and other diverse group of people. So so that way, and anyway, like from the start, I was anyway sort of into an artistic medium and into a different medium of graphics.
Correct.
For me, it was visual as well for me. So I have always
Yeah.
been trying since college. Like now, it's becoming more and more because I'm locked inside the house, and when you can't go to a site and be an architect,
Yeah.
so you always look for other opportunities and other ways to sort of look out for creative uh, opportunities. So yeah.
So I think, yeah, I mean, that's something which, really changes a person's thought on what he should be doing. Should he be taking mainstream architecture? Should he be changing his field? Should he be getting into what he's really passionate about? So I think that's a
Yeah.
really good thing which a person should, get into. So which cities have you worked in, and how did that have an effect on what you are doing today?
I have worked on a lot of cities, like Nagpur. Starting from Nagpur, we have survived Nagpur, and it was
Yeah,
like one hell of a city. And then
correct.
Calcutta, I worked there for some time in Abhin Design Studio in a corporate place, and I had the experience of a big corporate office.
Sure.
And then I came to Bombay. And
Yeah.
Bombay, I've worked most of my practical life, like 3.5 years I've worked in Bombay, and now I'm working in
All
Goa.
right.
So I haven't like really got the sense of Goa yet because of the lockdown. So I won't be able to tell
Yeah.
you how Goa is as a practicing architect or designer. But
Yeah.
then for me, I think among all these cities, I would like, for me, Bombay is much closer to my heart because uh, just because how the city is, like the city is planned in a way that it's very diverse, and
Yeah.
it's not like the street has multiple programs in it. Like, like there are many things happening in a street
Yeah, for sure.
which keeps you busy, which keeps you feel safe. And also like
Yeah.
bringing Gene Jacobs in, and how, like, like in Delhi you don't feel safe and you don't feel connected
Correct.
in a way. Like in Bombay, you walk anytime in the night, and you walk any day, anytime, like whatever. Like you feel safe, you feel connected in a way,
Yeah.
but not in a
Correct. Yeah.
visual way, but in the sense you're connected because there are so many things happening around you. And also that has to
Yeah.
do with something how Bombay is planned. Like it's there are
Yeah.
multiple programs happening in one neighborhood, so that way there
Yeah.
are like eyes in the city all the time, and so you feel safe. And also, so some may argue ki, like Calcutta has more sense of a neighborhood than
Yeah.
Bombay, but in a way it is. But then, so in Calcutta streets where uh, every street, every lane is like a community. So we call it para,
Yeah, for
like
sure.
it's a close knit community. But in Bombay, like the
Okay.
community is not there, but then the sense of community is there. So if
Yeah.
you like, you feel safe. If you ask someone that you ask someone some help, even if they don't know you, they help you. Also, the
Correct.
other
Yes.
end is that in Bombay there's a diverse group of people at work, so you get a lot of exposure. So in a way, I
Yeah.
got to meet a lot of creative people in illustration field and graphic design field, which also helped me to gain perspective and form my own opinions. Which me back in Calcutta or in Bangalore for that matter, I was not
Yeah.
able to do that because I didn't have access. The only people I used to meet was architects, and you know how it
Yeah.
is. Like you only live among architects, and the only things you hear is architecture. Yeah, architects don't
Yeah.
like really talk about anything else, like, so that
Yeah.
way
It's
you
right.
feel that you are bounded by certain ideologies which are very restrictive, and they don't like open up and meet other people and invite other opinions. So in that way, I felt a lot of invited, and
Yeah.
in that way, I thought the city was very inclusive, and yeah, like I love that place. So.
I,
I
I
think
mean,
Bombay is one
I
of the best
since I
places
have
to live.
known you, yeah. Since I
Yeah.
have known you, right? I have always seen you being this crazy designer. Okay, and that had a lot to do with everything you would do. Also, you'd do everything in that particular way. You would have that in your in your entire self itself. How you draw, how you sketch, the kind of activities that we would relate around it. So
Yeah.
everything was so artistic, design oriented, and you have always been that kind of a person. So when I saw you getting into this, I knew you would eventually never be a very mainstream architect. You would get into various different ways. So could you tell us, like, what
Yeah.
are the books or what kind of shows or something which a person could watch to actually understand this? Because I have a lot of students who are very good at art but do not think it can actually be a career for them.
Yeah. I mean, like, there are many inspirations. I have inspirations everywhere. Like, for me, inspirations life to graphic novels, from series
Yeah.
to like movies to anything. Like, even I read
Yeah.
like books and books that concern art and architecture and art and design and
Hmm.
all of that. So there are many books. One book, if I would say, is which comes to my mind right now is Ways of Seeing by John Berger. So it's a book
Can you please repeat that?
about the ways of seeing, Ways
Ways
of
of
Seeing by
seeing.
John
Okay.
Berger.
All
Yeah.
right.
So it's a book which tells you, like the way we perceive things, the way we see
Mm-hmm.
is not just on one level. Like it's not like just visual. It's also sort of impacted by assumptions and how we are trained in the society, and how our assumed thoughts already affect our ways of seeing. So I'll give you an
Yeah.
example. Like if I give you like a bottle, a picture of a bottle, and below the
Hmm.
bottle, it's like a bottle which is slightly curved and has a curved top. Okay, for just say, and then
Yeah.
below there's a huge font which is written a bird. Okay, so the
Okay.
if you see that image, the first thing initially, the firstly your mind will see a bottle, but
Yeah.
then your mind will obviously tend to imagine the bottle as a bird, right? Because the bird has been, because the image tells you that it's a
Yeah.
bird, and
Yeah.
because the
Getting
image
it.
tells you it's a bird, your mind automatically starts imagining the bottle as a bird. You know, like even if
Yeah.
you don't want to imagine, it starts like you'll see
That's true.
every person will do. So then it's so that's one of the examples that the book tells us, and it's I think it's very relevant to today's time as well because uh, the way we see things is sort of very much impacted by our assumptions and our ideas that society
Hmm.
presents us, you know, like things like beauty, status, and all of that. So if you see recently, if you take the case of the virus, okay, so
Yeah.
initially when it came out, uh, everyone thought, you know, like Chinese and virus. Like Chinese to
Yeah.
hai, to matlab virus is coming from
Yeah.
there. And there was a very funny and sad incident that happened in Delhi. I don't know if how true it is. Like, that you know, remember that singer Chang,
Okay.
who was yeah. So somebody in his flat, in his apartment, he was I don't know if he was a delivery man or someone. He came and he shouted Corona at him, okay, and he ran away. And that was
Wow.
like a weird and bizarre experience, you know, like because of the
But
fact
it's
that
the
people started,
relatability is what you're trying to talk about, right? That people
yeah,
have related.
people started seeing Corona as
I get it.
personified
Yeah.
as a Chinese person because the way the news and everything is broadcasted to you, the way you see things is sort of impacted by what news you're reading or what people are telling you.
Yeah.
So people are telling you in a Chinese virus, Chinese people have caused the virus, and so they already have this notion of calling out Chinese people, you know, like because of you, the virus is coming and things like that. So
Yeah.
uh, yeah, like I mean, like it's more evident in today's time because of the technological evolution, you know, like because when we open Instagram, the ads that are shown to us is something which they want us to see,
Correct.
and so at a point we question ourselves what we actually see is what percentage of what we actually see is something which we want to see, you know,
Yeah.
and something which is presented to us and something what the phone wants you to see or the corporations want you to see. So yeah, like this is something which is I think is a book which everyone should read, and not just for architects
Yeah.
but also for designers and
Ways
artists,
of
and it
seeing.
helps
Right.
you, yeah, it helps you see like images, not just images, but also everything in a different perspective. So yeah, that is one
Actually,
book.
yeah.
Yeah, that is one book that I could think of right now, and there are many millions of inspirations of graphic novels and
Yeah.
movies, and which I all like. For me, like inspirations not just are limited to architecture or books; it's everywhere. So yeah, like books, music, everything is sort of related and sort of translated into my work some way or
Into
the other.
architecture.
So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So, for all the artists out there, okay, all the artists who are into illustrations, into architectural illustrations, interior illustrations, they are into, digital art, things what you are doing, maybe even animation for a matter of fact, 3D
yeah,
animation, 2D animation, whatever, right? So, people who are into art, all right, and then they have learned architecture for 5 years, or they have learned interior designing for 3 years, they have done their masters,
yeah.
they have done all of these things, right? So where is the learning curve, which professionally, where is the learning curve, and even practically when they use it, where is that learning curve which people should, have, so that they can switch to their courses, they can have confidence that okay, I think I can actually put my hand into digital art and monetize, make money, grow a brand, grow a business out of it. When is that point? When does the person feel that confident? Because I don't think in India, people who are being architects or being interior designers, and as you can see, one of the question is what is the scope of architecture in the future? with all data analysis, machine learning, all of these things, architecture, maybe the number of seats that would be there would gradually decrease and allied fields would increase. So how do people know that they
Yeah,
can
for
get
sure.
into that business?
Yeah, I can see a graphic designer making a building in the future. I mean, I can see an AI making a building in the future.
Yeah,
So yeah, but
of course.
I think like you'll never really be 100% sure. That's what I believe. Like the basic funda is what I believe is progress is never linear. The curve is
Mm.
never linear.
Yeah,
So the path will always be going up and down and up and down and up and down. And the downs are as much important as the ups are.
yeah,
Because in the downs you realize your mistakes and you learn from it. And those are very much
yeah,
important. And I think those are the points where you will realize you want to be an architect or you want to be a designer or an artist or you want to be all of them together.
yeah,
So yeah, I mean like it's not like a linear curve and it's not a straightforward answer. I would say like you should gain a lot of skills. That's the
hmm,
first thing. Like the one mistake that people do, like to confuse passion between career or which is people say like follow your passion or follow your dreams, which is sort of I think is very it's one of the stupidest thing to tell anyone because in one surface level it rings true, but then if you take it like you sort of believe it, it might uh, get you blunders, like it won't take you anywhere
yeah,
because in one sense unless you really practice your passion, unless you really practice a profession, you won't gain love for it. Before
yeah,
that, it's just a hobby for you. Unless
yeah,
you practice it and you know and you keep doing it, that's when you grow love. It's like I think it's the case with love among individuals also. Like you need to practice
yeah,
it and you need to be like at work for a long time to know that your passion is actually something which you can call it passion. Like unless
yeah,
before that it's just a hobby. So I would say skills are more important.
yeah,
Skills top everything else. So if you should focus on gaining skills. If you think that you want to do graphic design, learn more about graphic design, learn the skills, learn softwares,
yeah,
learn how to make a logo and small things step by step. You don't
yeah,
necessarily take a decision, like मेरे को graphic design करना है, you forget architecture. Don't do that. Like
yeah,
get the skills, see how it's working for you. Do
yeah,
part time, do architecture, be an architect, be a graphic designer, do both, and see
yeah.
how designing is working for you, and see how this is working for you.
Very
And
correct,
in
correct.
time, you develop the passion for it. I think passion develops over time. It just doesn't like it's infatuation. Like what you call like
Yeah,
just you look at it, you like it, you think you want to do it, and that's not the way to go about it. Like you have to like practice
yeah,
it and gain the skills, and then if you like
yeah,
it, then you do. So yeah, I mean
yeah.
like the curve is never linear. It's never straightforward. It's always like ups and
Progressive or a
downs. So
building.
it's
Yeah,
gonna be like that, and you have to accept the fact.
yeah, for sure. So, what do you think is a way where you can actually master the art of maybe being an artist? Like, I'm not saying everyone can be an artist. I know that's not possible and that's not going to happen, even if people really want to be. Yeah, but
Yeah.
how much, till what level can learning skills, okay, one thing, and practicing them, these two things can actually develop even a most basic person who has no knowledge about art? Digitally, I would say, because I know people will be able to work digitally better rather than using a pencil. I'm very sure about
Yeah.
that. Okay, like we both know
Yeah. Yeah.
this. But
Yeah.
what,
Some
like
people.
what? Yeah,
Yeah. Many people do. I mean, uh,
yeah,
obviously, like digital for someone, digital is obviously the better way of doing
yeah,
it. But yeah, like for me, like it's even if you like, you don't have to be like a great sketcher or a painter. For me,
yeah,
the first thought has to come on paper with your hand,
yeah.
and after that you translate digitally however you want. At least the
Actually,
first thought should come. Like you don't have to sketch it out. You
make
write it
it
out.
well. You just
It's
need to
okay.
be able
Like
to
give me a
understand it.
paragraph.
Yeah,
Yeah, like it doesn't have to be like like abhi main Rhino open kiya and I start doing something and I get an idea. It shouldn't be like that. Like it shouldn't be that approach. I think you start it in a more personal level. You start writing about it, you start singing it, or you start sketching it, painting it, do whatever you
Yeah.
want. But it should come from you, not from the software. And then you take it to any level. You take it to Grasshopper, Rhino, or some AI other software, or do digital art, do anything with it, which is totally up to you. But I think the first instance should always come within you and something which is very true to you, something which really means to you. Then
Yeah.
it's something which is worthwhile. Otherwise, yeah, like it's otherwise a simple case of software guiding you on what you're doing, and which is slightly
Yeah.
dystopic for me, and which is sort of happening. And even like Instagram, if you see, many people use Instagram as a portfolio. Like even I
Yeah.
use, for me, Instagram is a
I know.
portfolio.
Yeah.
Like when I applied for a job recently at a marketing agency, I just showed them Insta profile. They and people are, and now the tendency is such that people also know that Instagram is a
Yeah.
profile, it's a portfolio, and you can see work and you can judge people on that and hire people
Actually.
on that.
Yeah.
So, but then one gray dark area is that people are obsessed with followers, and you get obsessed with followers and you lose what you're doing. That is
Yeah.
one side. Obviously, we shouldn't go on that level. Also, the other, which is a more difficult phase, I think, is that Insta has this format of tiles. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's like 6 tiles and or square tiles, and it has a typical format of write-ups and tags and hashtags and all of that. So when we make a portfolio, it's our work, and we make the portfolio on the basis of what work we have, right? When we are
Yeah.
applying somewhere. For Insta, the case is something opposite. The portfolio is already made for us, and now we
Yeah.
are
We just need to
presenting the
put it.
work there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then sometimes what happens, like you think opposite. Like Insta mein there are 4 tiles. I have to fill
Yeah.
those tiles in such a way, so then I'll make this work so that it goes there and looks like that.
Yeah.
So I think even I had that phase, and everyone has that. It's
Yeah.
a very
Yeah.
difficult phase to be in, because it's always a
Not to
fight
have.
between between the format and your work. But then that's a
Yeah.
very dystopic way of doing it, because then you're letting Instagram tell you what to do. You're letting Instagram, the format, drive your creative work, which shouldn't
Yeah.
happen. You should work irrespective of how you're posting it online. You do your work, and then you think about however you want to post it.
Yeah.
So it's something which also people should fight, and it's a constant struggle, and I think it's slowly increasing and increasing day by day.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, I think, yeah, showing a portfolio through Instagram is a very common thing. I mean, we document everything on Instagram, YouTube, all these different places, and just kind of showcase them to the world. And so I know that's like a big issue, but I do believe that a person, as we had spoken in the last point also, that you can practice your softwares, right? Like you can practice art, you can learn it, you can practice digital
yeah,
illustration, you can do all of these things. And while you are practicing architecture, while you're working somewhere, you can start like a small side hustle or whatever you want to call it on the side to see
yeah,
how it's working as well. I mean, there'll be so
yeah,
many
yeah,
fields, according to
definitely.
me, which architects right now, all right, in the next, I think 5, 6 years, architects are the people who are going to remove or create many new fields in careers for themselves because of maybe the demand of
Yeah,
architecture going down and the demand of the allied fields going up. So that's one of the
yeah, yeah,
main
sure.
things
You can see it
also, I
happening right
think,
now.
yeah, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So I think one thing which I wanted to ask you was which are the top 5 softwares which you use for your digital artwork?
Uh, Photoshop is just Photoshop, I guess. But
But I think
yeah,
Blender
like
and stuff you've been using.
yeah. So recently I've started like 3D into foraying into 3D as well. So I've started
Yeah.
Blender, and I've started fusing, like, and not just use Blender, but I use Rhino as well with
Okay.
Blender. So I use Rhino to create my 3D art, and not just buildings. So yeah, so I'm also learning a little bit Grasshopper as well, so that
Mhm.
also fuses into my 3D art, and then
Okay,
sort of taking it into Blender, and yeah,
so what I'm gonna do
yeah, and
is
then sort of
because you said, sorry, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, say.
No, I was like, because you've said Photoshop so much, I will give everybody who's watching this any rate above 400 rupees what you want. I'll give my software that for right now. I'll make a code and I'll give it live over here. You just tell me any rate over 400 rupees.
Of what? Photoshop?
Yeah, it's for 950 right now to buy the course, but I'll create a coupon and I'll give it whatever you said, because you're saying Photoshop should be learned, right? So give me any rate above 400. What do you say about like 585? Is that good?
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Okay,
599.
599. Okay, so I'll give it for 599. I'll be putting the code after this. Anyone who wants to buy 599 Photoshop course e-learning platform. Okay, and that's because of
Right.
you, Orko.
Photoshop is the best, dude. Like
Yeah,
it's everything, dude. You can
yeah,
do everything there, like presentation. Like people keep fighting with me about InDesign and Photoshop, and I'm like,
yeah,
dude, use Photoshop, forget InDesign. Yeah, I know that InDesign is much more easier, but I
yeah.
stick to Photoshop because I'm used to the format and the whole interface.
Correct.
And so yeah, I work everything there, and now started learning, started doing Blender, Rhino, and all of these softwares, and sort of combining them together to
Yeah,
generate 3D artworks. But yeah,
yeah.
like if you, that's about it, I would say. Otherwise, I just sketch with my hand. Yeah,
Okay, I'm going to ask you something which I think is like something which is very crazy because of all this AI development, technology development, of all of these developments which are happening. We see that we can say that because of machine learning, people are losing jobs. Okay, that's one way to see it. I want to see it in another way. I want to see whether, or I want to ask you whether, do you think AI or technology at some point will be able to create, like, generate art on its own with its own mind in various
yeah.
different ways? And do you think that would be something, and could it benefit us in some way?
I mean, it's a question. It's like it's again like ways of seeing. It's a way of
Yeah,
seeing. So yeah, like the AI, if the moment when the AI knows what you want to see,
yeah,
and then it generates art according to you.
yeah,
So then it's a basic morality question, like, are you really seeing what you want to see, or
yeah.
are you seeing what the AI wants you to see?
And telling you
So
that that's what you want to see.
yeah, I'm telling you that's what you want to see. So
Yeah,
it's a very I don't know, like it's a very dystopic scenario where the algorithm will be obviously made by someone human, and then it evolves to some level where it basically recognizes whatever you want to see and shows you generative art forms. But I think it
mm,
should be like 50-50. You should obviously you should be at par with tech and the growing technology, and obviously AI will be part of us. But the ideal solution would be to be in a sort of state where you're encouraging AI as well, but not
yeah,
letting you drive you. So
yeah,
similar what we spoke about, like you shouldn't let the software or the tech tell you what to do,
yeah,
and it should be like it should be like a collaborative, dude. Like it should be in future. I can see like you collaborating with four AI machines and
yeah.
then creating something. So I think that's a more ideal scenario where it's not totally dystopic, but it's not totally utopic either. But it's somewhere at a balance. So
Yeah,
yeah, I
that's true.
definitely see. Huh.
So basically I'll tell you, right? Like we have got like advertisement. Like one of the things which we can see, which has become completely AI based in terms of
Yeah.
creativity, is, I think, the digital media, the digital marketing. The entire
Yeah.
ideology of marketing is getting more people to see, retention of people, all of these things. And with
Yeah.
Facebook's algorithm settings, with Instagram's algorithm settings, they have actually criteriaed all their users, okay, in very, very, very like different categories, like maybe up to 4 or 5 thousand categories. And so they are able to pinpoint which person would do a particular activity in a particular way. Now,
Yeah.
if marketing can reach that kind of a level with the same data and the same analogy, as you can see, one of the comments, it said Canva is a way forward towards AI, right? So
Yeah.
Canva has already pre-created so many different templates. if they blend it somehow with all the things that have been criteria for them by Facebook or Instagram, or the people who have criteria, they can actually create things on their own knowledge for certain people in a certain way. And it's possible, I'm assuming. Maybe not in very detail like the way you are personally providing work to clients, but on
Yeah.
at least on a broader scale at the moment.
Yeah, like advertising, I think is one of the few professions which are on the verge of taken over by AI. Because when the AI knows what ads you like and what products you like and how you like it, they'll obviously know the best way of advertising it to you or marketing it to you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
then there's no like humans or anyone involved in the whole process. Like it's just a matter of an algorithm, and you put what color you like and what things you like, and tada, the best product comes to you on Facebook and you buy it.
Yeah.
So it's one of the professions, I think, which is on the verge of taking over, or sort of like
Completely
future properly.
online. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
like
and it's getting better and better every day, because the more number of people who are using it. I mean, there are more than I think around 1 or 2 billion people who use Facebook every single day or every single throughout the year. So it's
yeah,
like crazy to see that so many people will actually be able to have these different sectors opened up to taken over. I won't say taken over, but I'd say improved by AI, because all the marketeers have become digital now, and for them
yeah,
things have become easier actually. So it's not like
yeah.
jobs have been taken over. But yeah, again, now when I see your work, the digital work, the kind of detail that you do, which is, first of all, it's incredible. Okay. I would just want to say that it's something which is amazing, which very few people I have seen really do in that, in that depth. Personally, who I know, uh, how would you tell a person, and how simple can you break it down for a person? What exactly is it that you do? Like, apart from just saying I'm a digital art, what do you do? Like, where do you use your graphics? Where do your graphics go? Stuff like that.
So one of my ways of going on about some like starting a work is a movement called surrealist automatism. It's called surrealist automatism. It's automatic drawing. So
Okay.
basically, you charge your unconscious and don't let your conscious mind take over you, and you drive all your creativity from your subconscious and subconscious mind. So what you do is
Wow.
like you start without thinking anything. So you don't
Okay.
have a preconceived idea about what you're gonna do, and you just start doing it. And whatever your inner desires or inner thoughts are will automatically be coming out on paper. You don't have any idea what the whole product is gonna be, or you don't have any idea what your next stroke is gonna be. So it's gonna
Yeah.
be totally abstract, and it's a movement which was, I think, first invented and taken by Andre Mason, the painter, and also George Condo, and there are many like these surrealistic artists who started
Yeah.
this movement. And abstract art was had this phase of automatic drawing, and people still do it, and it's a way of getting the true in terms of philosophical conversations. If you're talking in
Yeah.
fluids principles, it's basically taking the ID out of you. The ID is basically the part of you which is the hidden desires and your hidden thoughts,
Hmm.
and whatever which is true you. And when you start automatic drawing, you're not like, it's again like ways of seeing, like you're not thinking with the assumed thoughts and your assumed things that you have seen, and which you want to reproduce on paper, but you create something which is totally from your subconscious. So it's totally abstract, and you don't know what your next stroke is gonna be. So I had this, I still do it now, and I had this phase of like getting up in the morning and just take a blank sheet of paper and just start sketching. Okay, like I don't know what I'm gonna do, and I just do it. I start doing it 1 hour every day, and it's like a pure creative bliss. Okay, like I think everyone should do it, and once you do it is when you realize ki, like this is you, and it's not like bounded by any preconceived notions or any distractions or any influences. Obviously it's influences
Yeah.
because you are part of what you have your inspirations are. So but then it's not like something which even you will invent things which you wouldn't know that like you could do. So it's something very exciting and interesting, and it's something which I follow and sort of try to follow in all the things which I do. Like even if I have something which I know that I'm gonna do, a specific object or a specific image that I'm going to create, I sort of start doing it. Like I don't have a format or a like a pre-sketch or something which will
Yeah.
guide me to do it. But I just start doing it and say I'll do 10 versions of it, and then maybe select something and then build on that. So that's when I know that what I'm doing. But otherwise, when I'm generally like sketching or doing something which is purely non-commercial and which is totally personal, I mostly do follow surrealistic automatism. It's something which is
Hmm.
automatic drawing, and yeah, it's
Yeah.
subconscious and it's something which is pure bliss. I think which everyone, every artist, at least every creative should definitely
Try
try
one.
doing it once at least. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that is really like a lot of thought put into how you actually can create something from scratch. I mean, that's just amazing. And honestly speaking, we have known each other since a long time, right? And yeah, so I know that I have actually sat with you at one point of time, and I have seen you do that also, I believe. I think you just
Yeah.
kind of sketched your entire city with a tram or a trailer going through your city, and that just came out of nowhere. And I don't know why, but it was just so abstract, but then everything just joined in the end. Also, one more thing where you drew a nine ball with a snake's neck, then turning into a human. I mean, that was
Yeah.
something which was another crazy thing which I think I have seen anyone do. So that's why I
Yeah.
say I have seen a lot of artists, I have seen very good creative people, but very few people who actually work like you, which is just something hats off to you. I believe a lot of people would really need to learn such things that you do in a certain way that you do it. So
Yeah.
that's really crazy though, surreal optimism.
Yeah.
Yeah. And okay,
Sounds
so
sounds really heavy, yeah.
yeah,
Right.
it does. I mean, yeah, so you have to have it in your unconscious mind, but you let your conscious mind work on it, right?
Yeah. Sort of
Yeah.
like that, yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, it's easier said than actually done, I think.
No,
But
I mean
yeah.
like you have to do it. Unless you do it, you won't really
Yeah?
feel. So I really believe in doing, and you
Yeah.
have to do it. Like you can't like talk about it all the time. You can talk about it, but unless you do it, you practice
You'll
it,
never really
you
feel
won't
it,
get
right?
the feel of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean like yeah, abstraction is something which I really uh, excited and I'm really like into it now, because also I think abstraction and architecture is something which is very related to one another. It's sort of connected
Yeah.
to one another as well. Abstract art was sort of generated solely because like traditionally back in the past, Renaissance artworks all were only depicting realistic images of
Yeah.
landscapes. Okay, like hyperrealism was like the thing, was the shiz. Everyone was doing it, and once say the camera was invented, I think after that, because the camera then, because before that people were used to perspectives. People
Yeah.
were used to seeing an image in a particular way. Like people were used to see realistic images of people, of landscapes,
Yeah.
and perspectives of paintings. But when
Yeah.
the camera was introduced, the camera sort of distorted the perspective, and the moving images and the film and uh, all of that sort of
Yeah.
gave you a different notion about different perspective of looking at
Yeah.
images. And that's when I think abstract art was sort of invented, and people started refraining from the traditional way of realistic depiction of things, and then sort of going a step forward and doing something which is totally abstract. So cubism is one of the abstract art movements where what you do is like you take an image and you sort of
Hmm.
distort it from different perspectives. So there is no one perspective, there are multiple perspectives. So if there's a cup, you see the cup from top, below, side, front, everywhere. So you sort of
Yeah.
break it into say 10, 20 different perspectives.
Yeah.
So in that way, the painting is very interactive to you. It sort of changes and evolves, like it evolves over time and changes. And
Yeah.
you experience the painting not as a whole. You experience it as a whole, but also you experience it as parts, and you experience it with time, and
Yeah.
your experience changes with time and with the parts you look at,
Yeah.
because each of the parts interact with you differently. And I think
Yeah.
the same is with architecture as well, because architecture to me is not a singular experience. Like, also it's a problem in today's way of depicting architecture. Like we always see one building, one perspective, and the way it's shown to us. And
Yeah.
but you don't experience the building like that. Like nobody goes to a building and you don't memorize the building as that one perspective. Like you memorize the building, your experience is more tactile, more related to your emotions and your feeling and your
Yeah.
touches and your material experiences within the building is what constitutes how you perceive the building. It's
Yeah.
not just one view, one perspective shot. So the experience are more fragmented. It's more like momentary, like it's based on moments and fragments.
Yeah.
So in a way, I think that is sort of related to abstract art, and something which is also sort of missing from architecture nowadays is how we depict architecture. Like it's not one single solitary experience. It's more like fragmented and more articulate and detailed. And these are the
Yeah.
moments which leave in your mind and which are left in your mind and which stay on for you. Like if you see a building, if you go to a building and you come back, the only memory and the experience of the building are these small moments and fragments. You don't
Yeah.
imagine the building as that perspective which
Yeah.
sticks to you. You imagine the building more in the spaces, more in the movement,
Yeah.
more in your tactile experiences. So in that way, I think it's something which we should bridge, like connect the gap between art and architecture, which is sort of, I think, is missing in many uh, practices nowadays.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's something which people should focus on, and it should be the one thing that drives design today in today's architecture.
It's amazing. Yeah. I mean, to see a perspective like that. Nowadays, whichever building you see is all about how does the building look, okay,
Yeah,
and
I
how
mean,
do the
yeah,
people, yeah, and I mean, okay, let's not talk about big cities like foreign cities. Let's not even talk about metro cities like Bombay, Delhi. All right, let's talk
yeah,
about a second level city like maybe where I'm from. So that's Nagpur. So it's a metro, but it's a growing metro, you can say. Now, over
yeah,
there, architects, very few of them try to give an experience. I think our college, personally speaking, was where we would kind of, we would break it down to those moments and really, live within the college all the time, even in the hostel, even at home. But when I see a lot more, but more than those kind of designs, when you have like 70 or 80% of the entire city just focused on some kind of massing, which makes
yeah,
no sense because it's about the user
yeah,
experience. It's about whether is the person, walking through feeling the breeze, is the person, it's about small things like that which would actually kind of help a lot of people bring in design or improve their design, enhance their design. So I do feel that art in a certain way can actually help you think about all of that as well. Because only when you would go like, oh, can I sketch out a jali for this area? You would actually put up a jali, or you would just maybe have a blank wall with louvers outside. So that would not really
yeah,
affect the user in a certain way. So I do agree to that art should be, there should be that gap should be bridged between art and architecture. I honestly would like you to actually have like a small workshop with us, maybe just a webinar or something where we can actually teach people do that, where you can actually help a lot of people understand that. A lot of architects, even though they finish architecture or even after they finish interior design, they still don't, they still are not able to do that, maybe because of the way they were taught in college, because of the restrictions,
yeah,
because of the focus more on construction than on design. So I think that could be a
yeah.
really big change what architects need to have, because if that's not going to happen, then generic designs are going to be taken up by machines. I believe like that's going to happen.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, these are the things which we should hold on to, like not just make a facade on a building, which
Yeah,
serves no purpose on how you perceive it, but serves a lot of purpose when you put it on Instagram.
yeah,
So but that's not how you should make it. Like, you're not making the building for Instagram or for a website. You're making the building for the user, and obviously, like,
Yeah.
and the only problem that I have with education, I don't know, like, not all colleges for sure, but definitely like some of the colleges, and you know which college I'm talking about, definitely. And yeah, like some of the colleges which the thing of, you know, like, concepts are very important.
Yeah.
The more you practice, the more you'll know that, you know, like, the conceptual base is very important. And the more you have a theoretical base to your building, to your design, the more deep it is, and more deep rooted it is, more meaningful it is. So at the same time, people, like, you know, like in education, in academics, people, like in many colleges, force us to make elevations, you know, like these 4 elevations and these typical elevations, which doesn't make any sense. Like, nobody experiences a building as an elevation, you know, like you won't see a building flat on as a plane, and that's not how it is. Like, it doesn't. So for you to showcase your design, you should be given the freedom of showcasing it anyway. Like, you know, like you make a video, or you make a movie out of it, you make a model, or you make small parts. You do anything. Like, you don't have to make 4 elevations to explain your building. So that's I think is very restrictive, and also something which we also faced in our academic life, which
Of course,
didn't make any sense to me that time, and doesn't make any sense now also. And
You know, this
yeah,
is
I
what
mean, like,
I personally believe that education is, see, to a certain extent, they teach you everything that you're supposed to know, right? That's great. But where is the advancement? You know, if I'm doing a master's, I should not be learning about digital architecture by doing digital architecture. Every single thing is digital in architecture now.
yeah,
And yes,
yeah,
I don't need to do a master's to know that. I mean, though that's the criteria now, but there should be this like this. It's not broken yet. You know, the barrier in learning that, guys, we still need to make elevation sections. Why? We can make a 3D model and then we're done. You know, what is the point
yeah,
of all of this? You know, and then I know
yeah,
people who go like, okay, so I have Revit generated, you know, BIM, like Revit generated elevation sections. Oh, that's wrong. Why is that wrong? Like, why is that wrong? You know, like,
yeah,
okay, so I'm going to like just tell you when I started learning a software. This is just to give you a little brief. I started in my 10th standard. I used SketchUp for the first time in 10th standard. That's almost 10 years ago, okay? And I think
yeah,
there was no one in 10th standard, at least who I knew, used SketchUp. All right, I think it was one of very few users who used SketchUp. I made my kitchen, and it's a true story. I made my kitchen, which was being renovated back then. My contractor, the contractor was working there, right? My interior designer didn't know SketchUp. All right. So she came and she was explaining things around. And my contractor, not my though, but the contractor was there. I showed him the SketchUp model and I'm like, could you make something like this? Would it be possible? He's like, इसका please print out मेरे को देना, मैं इससे बनाऊंगा पूरा. And I was in 10th standard. And I was like, why am I even, you know, in 12th, I came back to that thought and I'm like, why am I even going to go and study? I have these skills, right? Okay, I need to actually sign now because I'm going to be an architect, you know. And then we see, you know, such problems that have happened, like with the Supreme Court decision and all of these things, which I can't really do anything about, maybe right now, but it's causing issues, you know. So I do believe if you don't have skills in the future, how much ever college tells you elevation seeko, section seeko, ye seeko, wo seeko, concept seeko, construction seeko, if you don't have skills, it's over. Like you're not
yeah.
going to grow in this field.
Yeah, definitely. It has to go hand in hand. Otherwise, you won't survive. Like, everything is digital nowadays, and because of the current scenario, I think everything is digital. You can't like go out. So yeah, man,
Yeah.
it has to go hand in hand. And what you guys are doing is something which is really great right now, because something which is creating a platform for students as well as seniors like us, or practitioners like us, or teachers like us, which sort of bridging the gap between sort of conservative teaching and modern teaching, and how advanced our perspective is, or
Yeah.
in terms of teaching and in terms of learning skills and honing these skills to be better equipped for future. So
Yeah.
yeah, man. Like I mean, these initiatives are more needed now. And yeah, it's seen like other before, like outside India. I think many colleges are sort of changing, and but I don't see that progress in India itself. Like it's not
Yeah.
happening. Like in India, most of the colleges still sort of rooted into the same ways of working and the same way of our institution and our schedule and our syllabus, which is sort of regressive. I think it has to be more progressive and more open-minded and more driven towards future. I think, yeah,
For sure, yeah. I think the as you said that learning has its ups and its downs and then its ups again. I think COVID-19, what we just experienced was such a big down, but it made so many new opportunities. Like I'm not saying it was bad for everyone. Okay, it might have been bad for a few people, but it created so many new opportunities that we could now see. Even in education, I felt a lot of new things that had happened. First, I think online classrooms and that also learning software online would ever be this easy. I honestly have actually experienced it so much more better with my students giving me reviews, with actually seeing this. That not just for education, but even for being an architect or for being an interior designer, for being whoever, this is really like a very big game changer. And I think in a couple of months, if the lockdown does continue, we are going to see a lot of different changes in all these fields, I believe, in the way people work also, and colleges accept submissions, I'm assuming. So a lot of
yeah,
different things. I think college would be like, just send me a video. I think we'd be good with that, you know. So, and
yeah,
I think it should
man.
be like that. Like we are
Yeah,
designers, you know. That's one
yeah.
problem. Yeah,
Yeah, the medium should not be restrictive. Like you have to. That major problem that I had was that A1 to A1, and
yeah,
you have to submit on A1 sheets. And why you
yeah,
like even telling me like I design, you tell me what to design, and then how you present is up to you. Like it should
yeah,
be like totally free to the student and however they want to like showcase their design. And yeah,
yeah.
like now I think they don't have an option. Like you have to get used to people submitting like videos or online
Submissions.
sheets.
They'll,
And,
I mean,
yeah,
I'm sure they're still going to accept sheets and elevations and sections are still going to be there. That norm is not cracked till now. But there is going to be a change in architectural education in the next 4 5 years. 100% definitely. That is without a doubt going to happen. I think a lot of
yeah,
people have actually seen. I like to say it in such a way, right? What is architecture? Architecture is this bag that you're wearing, which is like filled with a bunch of skills. That's literally architecture, right? From concept ideation to software learning to sketching to animation to effects to all of these things are so like in that bag of architecture. Yeah, so I believe there is going to be a big change, and things are going to develop for the better 100% and for us as well. So, is there anything else you would like to put forward, being an artist, about illustration, about the kind of designs that you do?
something for yeah. I mean, like you should go forward and move on, dude. Like you don't let and down like COVID or Corona stop you, and
Yeah,
just go ahead with it and start like so. One thing which was very important, like like passion. Let's don't get blinded by passion. Hone your skills and let yourself develop your passion over time, and then like what you really want to do. And now is the best time to do it because you are at home and you have the least number of distractions,
yeah,
and you have your opportunities to look at, to get inspired from. And this solitude is something which you should cherish and you should be hopeful about. And
yeah,
out of on the other side, you should definitely come off as a different person and something uh, which I think everyone has to do, because we have to look for other opportunities. Like because of this, many of the gates are closed, and many of the opportunities which we were looking to at maybe end of the year
yeah.
won't be available to us that time because of this pandemic. And so I think yeah, you should like look be more open towards the way you see and more open to opportunities. And one very important thing that I think I also realize, and I think people should realize, is the fact of your impermanence. Like impermanence is something which we architects as well also can't grapple with. Like we want our buildings to be permanent structures.
Yeah.
That's where we drive our ego, and because of this ego, we are also like like limited and sort of restricted to many ways. So something which the pandemic really taught me made me believe was that like you're impermanent and you're transient and you're gonna die, and maybe it's not the virus, it'll be something else. It'll be your boss, it'll be your wife, it'll be a cancer, it'll be anything, and you eventually gonna die. And so instead of, because people are filled with anxiety and fear these days, and obviously the way we look is muddled with all these fear and anxiety, and we can't function right now. People are losing hope and things like that. So
Yeah.
one thing which we all should do is accept our mortality, accept that we all gonna die, and grapple with it and be okay with it. Like it's okay
Yeah.
that we are gonna die. It's not because maybe not the virus, something else will kill us later. So then if you're gonna die, then what are you doing at this point? And relook at your whole life. And I think this has given us the opportunity of doing it, because we are all distracted and we're all busy in life. And now when you're inside and locked up inside and you're forced to stay with yourself, then you relook at whatever decisions you have
For
taken
sure.
in life, whatever skills you have honed, and now you see what else is something which is you are interested in, something which is you always
Right,
wanted to
yeah.
do, and you
And
do
that's
it now.
actually a good way
This
to
is the
look at
moment.
it. Yeah. But that
Yeah.
was awesome. That was a really good final insight, I think, which you have given our audience. Thank you so much, Orko Jyoti Saha, to be a part of Ace Talks. I'm so happy to
Thank you for
actually have
inviting
you
me.
over here. Yeah, of course, any day. And I'm sure we'll do something to benefit maybe the audience or even a lot of students in the future.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say कि it's a great initiative by you guys. I think future is collaboration, and future is
Yeah.
a platform where designers and people from all fields co-learn and grow together, and even like
Yeah.
students. And
Yeah.
because for them it's a huge opportunity, and the education and the colleges that India has to offer is not giving us chances like this and opportunities like this, which are not just being online, is available to us 24 into 7. And it's also
Yeah.
a platform where people, not just architects, as well as designers and artists and everyone from different creative fields, are coming together and co-learning together. So
Yeah.
yeah, man, it's a great initiative, and kudos to you
Thanks a
guys.
lot.
Keep this up. And amazing. Thanks
Thanks a
for
lot.
inviting me for the
Thanks.
talk.
Yeah,
Fun.
thanks a lot for being here again. And I'll see
Yeah.
you soon. Yeah. Take care. Bye bye. Thanks a
Okay.
lot.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care.
So I'm glad that ended really on a good note. We could get him back. We had his final say, and I'm really grateful to Orko to be a part of this episode 4 of Ace Talks. Next week we'll be bringing in someone who is a little different, maybe not architecture, maybe not interior design, maybe fashion, maybe graphics. Let's see in our next Ace Talks. Do be here, same time, 7 p.m. Tuesdays. Every single Tuesday, I will try to bring a new guest to inspire, to give you guys information, to empower as many people as I can, and also so that we are able to understand different design fields and what is going to be the future of design. Take care, guys. I'll see you in another Ace Talks. I'll see you guys then. Bye bye.